On Hallows Eve, be ever so wary of a ghoulish ghost, disguised and scary. An unfortunate run-in with a sharpened blade may leave you headless, dismembered and flayed. Best miss out on the sweets, the candy and sugar, and avoid encountering with the bag-headed butcher. Well, don't know what that was about, but let's get started on the video. Today we're going to talk about Mezco 112 Collective, Gangreene Estates, Theodore Sodcutter, the Bag-Headed Butcher Edition. That's a long video, so I'm going to change the title. Well, don't know what that was about, but let's get into it. Today we're going to talk about Theodore Sodcutter, the Bag-Headed Butcher Edition, brought to you by Mezco Toys. So, here we have one of the creepiest figures that I've had, and now he's somehow gotten serial killery in a less traditional way and more of a slasher sort of way. So, let's get started on talking about that. I do want to talk about how I do adore the new look on him. It's definitely giving me creepy McCreepster vibes. But the green skin really does work what we have going on. And then we'll get to talk about the light up eyes, which is fantastic and phenomenal. But one of the things that I really enjoy about this brown jacket, and it makes me happy, is because it definitely gives me the vibes that match that on the box, which is that whole creepy, I'm looking at you, I can see what you're doing, like I'm always there to see it. And as you can see, even with this pose right here, the creepiness just sets in, and I love that about it. And it's one of the things that I've been working on is my horror. So it's really a nice place to be able to just encompass that with this figure. So let's review it. Let's talk about it. Our long jacket here looks really nice, but more importantly, it gives us room to spread our arms because our wired jacket actually flows. So if you want to get some nice creeper McCreepy shots, this is one of the really cool things that I like about it. And it frees up the body enough that you can actually get a lot more range out of him than you could before. As you can see, I was feeling around for those spots. One of the things that we still have to worry about is those single joints, but just be careful. But because there is enough room here that you can do that, you can actually have a lot of fun. So like I said, you can get your Super Mario pose on if you wanted to. But let's not talk about that. Right here, right? Like let's say we wanted to get a nice full-blown creeper shot. Look at this. Like, despite the single joints, we still have a beautiful way to pose him and to look fantastic in these nice horror-like poses. Sensational, right? We can still rock left and right. We still have a full range in the neck despite being a hunchback. And even when you pop it off, right, we have our LED. I've noticed that with playing him, you still get room of movement in the actual neck that allows you to move even further. So it's one of those things where the more I played with, the more I learned, and I'm very happy. Very, very happy. I'm going to leave him posed up, looking really cool. One thing you should also be aware of is that we still have room for ankle movement. Despite having no pivot, we still have plenty of room to forward in and out by messing around with those joints. Let's get our little touchdown pose going, right? As we get our creeper McCreepy vibes on. Now, with all of that being said, and we talked about that, I want to jump straight into the accessories and talk about our new look for our bag-headed butcher. There's a reason why it's called that. So let's jump into it. I decided I'm going to strip him down and walk you through it. So let's get to talking about the coolness that is the bag-headed butcher. I do like this, I don't want to call it turtleneck because his neck still protrudes out. But this shirt definitely does work for him. It's giving him true, like, classy killer vibes. We see the dirt and grime on the bottom of the sleeves in the shirt, showing you that you know, he's ready to get through the muck. Now, as you can see, we have a fur here, which is Velcroed. This is going to go around our body. And then we have our bag splattered with blood in the eye holes, and it's wired through. Now, it doesn't look like much now, but when you get it on him, you're going to see. So let's get to it, right? Fold our arms back, unvelcro our body for our vest, our fur vest, which allows us to get... it's very 70s, and I like, it's cool to see it because it works for what we have going on with him. All right, get him up, get our Velcro on, get our arms back down, and then we have our body here. Now, I'm gonna pop a head back on. We're gonna just slide our bag head on, and as you can see here, our bag-headed butcher is complete. Now, what's cool about this is, like I said, it doesn't look like much now until you get our axe. So let's talk about that and our axe. I really like the creepy vibes here because, one, you can still see the eyes through it and parts of the face, which is pretty cool. But when you turn on our LED aspect of it, this is where it really works for me. Right, those beautiful red eyes that work. And you pop our bag on over. Look at that. And it shows up really, really well. And because we have the wire here at the bottom, you can make it look like the bag is flowing and moving around. So that means even range of motion like look good because it looks like you're doing stuff. So for instance, let's say you're chasing the final girl or whatever. I know that from horror. I'm watching a lot of horror trope movies like Fear Street. Here we are looking really crazy as we run. But it's covering a certain look that just looks really phenomenal for our bag-headed butcher. So let's talk about the rest of the accessory as I pop some hands on, right? And then get to creepiness. Like I said, even before he was posed up and posed up now, just look at how cool this looks. Voila. There we are. Now, some of the things we're going to talk about is our main weapon for this pose. We're going to have our bloody axe. Right? Phenomenal with the blood at the edge. It means if you have Mezco with blood effects, this is going to work perfect for what you have going on. We have the wife of Theodore's head. She still has the unplugged part, so if you want to plug her into the bag or use it for a hand, we have different options for that. And speaking of his bag, one of my favorite accessories still comes with him. The skull logo bag. Looks like crocodile skin, but it's not. Right? And it still opens up as we unlatch our hatch. And like I showed you before, we can fit the wife's head in it. Even with the hair in, slide it in. Oop, I knocked it out, but you know what I mean. It still works by fitting in there. Let's just leave her in there for now. It's a safe place. Then we have our pickaxe. You never know when you have to dig up the dead bodies or use it to excavate, and when you have to put things back. So here's our shovel to talk about that as well. Next up, we do have a new accessory, which is going to be a walking cane. You know, when Theodore wants to play those little tricks, act like an old man, things like he's needing help getting around. Next up, we have our lantern. And I already put the batteries inside, so let's talk about the lantern's light. This one glows green. Same to match the skin color. We still also have a slew of heads. Let's talk about that as well. Here we are with one of our more normal heads. This is my preferred head to use when under the baghead butcher. I like the teeth protruding out. I really like the sculpts on Sodcutter. They're so good. Next up, we have our devilish grin face when we're up to mischief. There we go. It's looking utterly fantastic. Next up, we have what I call the angry face. In hot pursuit, or something is wrong, or he begins to freak out. Actually, look, the teeth protruding out. They are sharp, so be careful. Next up, we have our rotting flesh face. This is probably one of the best sculpts there are. Probably the truest form of Sodcutter and how he feels. Who knows? At least I don't. Then we have what I call the Scooby-Doo face. This is our I'm a monster, and it shows. We have a black tongue actually this time. The eyes begin to bulge out with red. This is beautiful. These sculpts are phenomenal. What's also really cool is that we still get our top hats. So you have your regular top hat. You have your bowler. And then, last but not least, you have your what I call the medium top hat. Right in between, a little crushed, but has some presence. And then we still have a slew of hands that we had previously, now kind of encompassing and following up. Before you saw our closed fists, so we do have 2 opened hands. These can be used for walking, reaching, looking really cool, posing, holding items. We actually have 2 dedicated item holding hands. These can be for your axe, your pickaxe, your shovel, things like that. This is our lantern holding hand. The black fingertips, right? We have our cane hand slash kind of wavering hand. We also have the pinching hand. This one is pretty cool. We also have the other pinching hand for the other side. This one uses the index and the thumb, whereas the other one uses the index and ring. Index and middle, sorry. We have our pointing hand. We have our open crawling baddie hands. These are going to be like your gripping hands, your horror hands, things like that. Fantastic. We have our, what I call the seduction hand. You already saw our closed fist as well. And that wraps up our accessories for the main part. But then you have a bonus. Over here in the corner, which I don't think you noticed hanging out with our Ichigos, we have some Gangreene Estate gremlins, right? Some new ones. These ones are black and red. And not our clear ones that we saw before. These are ones are black and red, and they're pretty nice. These guys will come in package with your boy Theodore. Utterly fantastic. And probably one of the cutest 2 that I like are these 2. The one that is sitting and the one that's kind of moving forward. These are probably the cutest ones. But with all that being said, I want you guys to see the pretty pictures at the end. But first, before we go, let's get into our size comparisons. I'll see you guys in a sec. Now we're going to do a quick size comparison. This one will be a Rumble Society special. So, first off, we're going to do our main man, Nosferatu, the king of horror from 1922, right? We size him up with Sodcutter. We can see that he's clearly a lot smaller. Well, not a lot, but you know what I mean. Like, the height and elongated proportions of Sodcutter shows off that even Nosferatu's proportions just don't work in comparison to him, because my man has reach. If he decided to be a boxer, he'd probably knock out most people. Now, here we are with Gomez, because we know Gomez kind of fights a little bit of everything. So we're going to choose the Hazard Squad Gomez to square off with Sodcutter. Next up, if we're talking about Ocelot and all things paranormal, why not use Atticus Doom? And Atticus Doom is a little bit on the smaller side. So as you can see, in comparison to the 2, Sodcutter is both still the tallest and the longest. But it does fit in the realm of horror, right? Last but not least, it's my main man, Doc Knock, the tiny scrapper himself. I chose Red Death because I like the colorway and the green face. So here we are with him next to Sodcutter, showing that off, right? So first and foremost, I want to say thank you to everybody. I hope you enjoyed the photos at the end, because we're definitely going to get real spooky, real horror with it. And it was my delight because I had a fantastic time photographing this thing. It was fun, really, really fun to get out my comfort zone with it. So as always, thank you so much. And please, be good, do good, drink your water, guys. Later. Just going to add this in at the end because I forgot during the accessories. We do get a luxurious black scarf. Making sure you know. It is not wired, but it does come with the figure. Forgot all about it in my excitement. So, there you have it. Bonus content.